Northern California, Bay Area, San Jose.
Okay, cool. How long have you been creating comic books, and how did you get your start?
Well, writing-wise, I actually started just writing things in general in high school, and I still have some of those old scribbles that I look back even now as I started doing the comics, because my writing style was so different then.
Okay.
But comic books itself, I started about. I actually started the process about 2 years ago, but from the time I actually had the first physical book in my hand to today, it's been about a year and a half.
Okay, cool. So tell me a little bit about zombie affection.
Affectation.
Affectation?
I wanted to do a zombie book because just kind of taking the pulse of the market that's out there. There's still so many people that are so excited about the genre.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, if I was going to do something, I wanted to try to do something a little bit different, something that would be a little bit more closer to what I enjoy. And so what I decided to do was do a more science approach to the genre than a supernatural one. Because I don't really buy into the undead aspect of it. And the virus thing always seemed like, to me, a little bit of a cheat. So I came up with this idea of, well, what if it was something that's affected the electromagnetic field around the planet, making it so that nobody could sleep. And then all of a sudden we're dealing in kind of that vague area in science where no one really knows how far you can really push the human body when it comes to fatigue and chronic fatigue syndrome before it just gives out. And it seemed like a lot of fun to play in that field, because you have emotionalisms can be down, it can be up, it can flop at any moment. You don't know what you're dealing with every single individual. Whereas with zombies, you know what you're into. You know what you're in for.
Right. Who would you say your favorite comic book writers and artists are?
Well, I started collecting comics in the late 70s. I think my first comic book was probably Marvel's Star Wars #1.
Oh, okay.
And then I was just, after that, frequenting 7-Elevens every chance I got before I discovered there were comic book stores.
Okay.
But writers and artists, I mean, John Byrne was a huge influence when he was doing Fantastic Four. Howard Chaykin, when he did The Shadow, I was a huge fan of. And then there's a lot of stuff that I grew up with that maybe I didn't appreciate as much at the time, but then as I got older, I started to kind of love it a little bit more. Like Kurt Swan's art on Legion of Superheroes and Superman. And I mean, you could just go on and on. I mean, there's so many, but those are probably the first ones that pop in my head right now.
Okay.